Hello, darling hearts. It's your GAPS coach, Emma, here with a lovely guest who's going to talk about hormonal issues. Now, Kat is a friend of my 18-year-old daughter. They've all come together, these kids, because they've got one thing in common, and that is that they're into an ancestral diet, specifically working with raw meats. So Kat suffered with some bad hormonal issues, bad thyroid issues, and chronic constipation, and then lost her menstrual cycle. What a thing to go through, Kat.
Yeah, all by the age of like 22 too, And like
So
I was
young.
basically had menopause. That's what the doctor told me.
That's what the
So,
doctor told you, that you had menopause coming.
yeah, early
When
menopause.
I was pregnant with BB when I was 38, which is quite late to be
hmm
pregnant, I recommend getting pregnant early, gals. But I went to the doctors and they said, yes, you might be going through early menopause at 38. And I thought that was, but they told you at 22, you're going
Yeah,
through
yeah.
menopause. Jeez.
Yeah.
So, when did you first notice your thyroid issues?
Um, it was around then. I would have never guessed that it was my thyroid if it weren't for the blood tests, and all of that. But basically, I just slowly lost all my energy. I became really dependent on caffeine and um naps, and I had a lot of sleep issues, like, I wanted to sleep, but I couldn't. I was really, really fatigued,
So
and I couldn't. That's
frustrating.
so frustrating.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then when I finally lost my cycle, and it was around 2021, if you know the events that took place at that time, and I unfortunately was a victim of that. So I kinda connected it to that, and then yeah, I just went to the doctor and got blood work done. There was basically no estrogen, no progesterone, like none of the hormones. And it made sense because I had a very, women are supposed to be monthly, with all of our moods and our,
With the moon.
yeah, and just like really feeling good when we're ovulating. And I didn't feel like that. I felt monotonous the whole month. So I knew something was wrong. And yeah, so the doctor told me that I had early onset menopause, and probably if I had continued down the allopathic route, I would have gotten more diagnoses, but I decided to just look at diet and get more into the natural um, way of doing things. And so I started eating raw liver and I got into Paul Saladino. That was like the first thing. And almost immediately that cured most of my issues. Like it was a night and day difference. And I never thought, I remember I had some raw liver, went to the gym with my brother, and I was like in a super good mood. I was like, wow, that really energized me. And he's like, I don't think like a little piece of food can give you energy like that.
How much did you eat your first bit of raw liver?
Like half an ounce
Okay,
maybe.
tiny
Yeah,
little
like
bit.
a regular, I had to freeze it and put it into pill size, and then I would chase it with raw milk. So it was a very good combination. Combining it with fat obviously helps a lot.
That's it. And it's jam-packed full of vitamin A,
The
vitamin
best.
D, vitamin K, all in perfect ratio, and all your B vitamins, and
Yeah.
copper, and zinc, and selenium, and all the micro minerals. It's just such
Mhm.
a gift, beef liver.
It's incredible, yeah,
Geez, so you
and
felt the difference from a
a
teaspoonful of,
a tiny
wow.
bit, and it cured things that I didn't try to cure either. Like, I had really bad digestive issues before that. Um, that's really also, like, before the hormonal stuff, what signified these issues was I couldn't digest anything. Every meal, I would have in the order of abdominal pain, and then nausea, and then bloating every single
Baby,
time.
that's
And
terrible.
no matter what I ate, and, I kept a food log, I tried to figure out if it was grains, I cut out gluten, it was still happening with just, like, chicken and avocado, like, cooked stuff. So then finally, eventually, I found, my way to raw primal and the raw diet, and I'll never forget the first time I had a raw steak with lots of fat. It just digested perfectly. Like, there was just it was like it was nothing in my stomach, and I felt energized, and I had a stable mood the whole day, and I knew that this was something I was gonna take with me, and honestly, since then, I think I've had raw meat every single day, and that
When was
was,
that then? When?
last January, so almost a year and a half now.
Oh, wow. So a
Yeah.
year and a half, you've been mostly just having raw meat and
Mhm.
raw fat,
Yeah.
raw egg yolks,
Egg yolks, yep.
okay,
Butter, lots of butter.
butter. I love butter.
Butter. Some milk. I don't do that great with milk, but I prefer the butter and I prefer lower carbohydrates. Some fruit as well, just because it's enjoyable. And then, of course, cooked food with my family. I'm not gonna miss out like on a special occasion. But there have been times when I know my digestion won't be very good, so I'll bring my raw meat dish to the dinner, which sounds crazy. I never thought I would be that person with with a different diet. I'm very adaptable usually, but once you suffer, I think you're willing to
Pain
take
is
those.
a very good motivator.
Very
I'm
good
saying people
teacher.
don't get to the point where you're in pain.
Yeah,
Pay attention
exactly.
now
Mhm.
to the reason why we have these raw animal products is they are full of enzymes. And enzymes are key. They are the catalysts for you to transform one thing into another thing. And if your digestive system's not working properly, that means that your own pancreas isn't really making digestive enzymes properly, which is why we need fermented dairy, lacto-fermented vegetables, raw meats, raw eggs, because they're full of enzymes. So what
Mhm.
an amazing transformation.
Yeah, it's been amazing, and less dishes to wash as well. Like that's
Yeah,
always
exactly. No,
cooked
don't you
tallow is really hard to get out of, and it clogs the pipes. So I'm really happy with these like raw meat dishes that take 5 seconds to prep. Just like go pick up a ribeye and slice into it and eat it. And honey as well. Honey is a big part of my diet. Lots of
beautiful.
enzymes, and it's an animal food at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
So how long were you without a cycle?
The longest, I mean, I've always had, well, because I was a vegetarian at
Oops.
when I was a teenager. Bad.
How long for?
4 years and
Oh,
very,
you
very
see the
important
damage it can cause, man.
formative years, age 15 to
Oh,
19. The
just when
worst.
you were developing, Dr. Natasha has an excellent book called Vegetarianism Explained. And in it, she describes how a lot of kids, for all the right reasons, you'd think it was the right reasons, they want to
Mhm.
save the planet and all that
Yeah.
jazz. They say, I'm going to go vegetarian. And mummy and daddy say, good, it's lovely. Well
Mhm.
done, darling. Whereas actually, they should say, actually, you're going to eat
Mhm.
the food that's on the table that we're all eating. And that's that because you're under my roof and I'm looking after you.
That's right.
And it would actually do the kids a heck of a lot more good. So, sorry to interrupt you. So, you were vegetarian and your formative years there, 15 to 19. And
Mhm.
then when did you lose your cycle?
Probably age 20, 21, 22, around that time. And I would lose it. I had very, what's the word when they're not regular, irregular.
Irregular.
Irregular cycles throughout my teenage years, obviously, because I had no cholesterol.
Right.
And then eventually lost it for like 6 months. And I lost it, interestingly enough, on the animal-based diet.
Oh, how
And I
interesting.
think the reason is because my body wasn't well enough to even digest cooked food. And also I was neglecting the fats, the animal
Yes.
fats are everything. And that was all driven by disordered eating, honestly, because I thought that fat would make me fat. Like, even vegetarianism was not the worst thing I did to my body. Low fat diet was the worst thing I did to my body because once I started eating meat again, I ate high protein. I was a gym girl. I ate
Right.
all those like rice cakes
Oh,
and I
yeah.
measured my peanut butter. Oh, it's
Oh, my God.
tragic. Tragic.
That's so interesting because that book I just mentioned, Vegetarianism Explained, goes on to sort of, it's a hypothetical example she gives of Miss Joe who says, I
Mhm.
want to be a vegetarian, and mum and dad say, yeah, great. But then she develops an eating disorder because of
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
Really, yeah.
yeah.
It's like they go hand in hand, but I'm lucky that I wasn't vegan. That's what I always say, because at least I ate eggs and cheese, and that can go a long way with forming, your bone structure and all these things. Because if it weren't for that, gosh, I don't know what I would have done. But yeah, and then I just embraced the fact that I needed to gain weight. Like that was really, really important. I gained on the primal diet last year, I gained 30 pounds and I wasn't that skinny to begin with. And that's a testament to the fact that raw fats are different than cooked fats. They're very, very small. Fats like they expand when you cook them. So eating raw fat is really what your body is meant to do because it stores very, very tight and small. So I feel like I've become more dense. Um, but not really gained weight. If I had gained 30 pounds eating like a standard American diet, it would look completely different, right?
I
I'd be
see.
inflamed and puffy, but I feel very healthy and I'm not cold all the time like I used to be.
That's a dead giveaway, isn't it, of
Yeah.
thyroid problems. You get cold hands and
Yep.
feet. You can't, and I see people out on the street, Billy and I, who eat a
Mhm.
lot of fat, not so much raw, but I think I
Mhm.
might be getting into it now after talking with you. We went swimming in the sea in March, and I
Mhm.
think the sea temperature was probably about 12 degrees centigrade. It was pretty chilly. I think it was about
Yeah,
33
that's
degrees
cold. That's
Fahrenheit.
cold.
And our bodies just went bright pink. And all the blood rushed to the, and we were like invigorated and we,
Mhm.
we weren't shivery or anything. And there were people on the beach with bobble hats and like big puffer jackets on. And they were like, "What are
Yeah.
you doing?" But we were getting grounded and we were getting our minerals from the sea. And we don't feel the cold like I used to as well
Exactly.
when your
Yeah.
hormones are balanced. Because what are hormones made of?
Fat.
Fat,
Cholesterol. Yeah.
cholesterol.
Mhm.
So if you want to sort your hormones out, maybe you need some raw fat, maybe.
Definitely. Fat and liver, I mean, as much as you can get, honestly, and your body will tell you too, because at the beginning I was eating way more meat and fat, way more, and I would just eat as much as I needed, but your body literally tells you the cutoff, like, "You're satiated, you're
Yeah.
done, you've had enough, you can put your."
Well, I've actually seen people who've gone to eat liver and feel terrible, feel sick, feel
Mm.
that it's overwhelming for them. And it's because their mineral balance is so off
Wow.
that they can't handle the copper.
Wow.
The copper is too much for them. So, for people who can't actually handle liver straight away, you need to start to remineralize from the bottom up with your macros. So, you need to sort out your potassium. Lots of people never think about potassium, everyone's always going on about
Mhm,
magnesium.
mhm, yep.
But you can just take a mineral drink with some lemon juice and bicarb to buffer the citric acid so that you're not sipping acidic liquid all day, and put in a little teaspoon of potassium bitartrate, which is cream of tartar, which is like a cookery ingredient. And that will give you your potassium with a little bit of salt as well. So then you'll have the sodium, the potassium, the micro minerals. You can also add you can add a calcium citrate to that by just putting lemon juice over your eggshells and leaching out the minerals out of your eggshells so that you're not having a synthetic form
Mm,
of calcium citrate. This will really help you get your macros sorted out, your macro minerals. Then you need to look at magnesium. I've even had clients where I've said, you need magnesium, they're getting cramps and
mhm,
whatnot. They take the magnesium, they feel so sick. And it's because their potassium's not high enough
mm.
to be able to handle the magnesium.
Oh,
So start with potassium, then your magnesium. Then we need to get the cod liver oil in the mix for the retinol.
mm,
Then the retinol can lift copper into place. And so the copper will then regulate your iron, your zinc. So something like Oyster Max might be good, as a dried, if you're not near the sea and you can't get fresh oysters, which are also quite expensive.
yeah, oh, yeah.
I was so happy to come in the other day and find a crate of oysters in the
I've
fridge.
eaten so many oysters, it's
Love it.
unbelievable. I mean, I'm here, like, I might as well. I'm
Yeah.
oyster maxing, like, literally, like,
Yeah, but
whenever I
with the
get them.
real deal.
Exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So what advice would you give to anyone who's experiencing thyroid problems as someone who's been there and done that?
I personally think lower carbohydrate for a short period of time really helped me just because the more carbohydrates you eat, the less meat and fat you'll want to eat. Agenus Vonderplanitz, who created the diet.
Let's say that name again.
Agenus Vonderplanitz, very typical name, but yeah, his book is called We Want to Live, and
A
I think
great name. We want to live.
yeah, we do, we do. A really important takeaway from that was that fruit, alkalizes the
Intestine.
intestines, and so it might reduce your appetite for raw meat, and it's very true. Like if I start my day with fruit or something that's not protein and fat heavy, then I basically am repulsed by meat the rest of the day. And I noticed that with children as well because I nanny a lot of kids, and if they eat a lot of fruit, they don't want their meat anymore. And meat is like
See,
what they should be
yeah, it
eating,
should
you
be give us
know?
this day our daily meat, not give us this
Exactly.
day our daily bread.
Yes.
And that's so interesting with the kids. Do you think the same would apply with lemon? Lemon juice even?
Probably not. Yeah,
Okay,
it's
just the sweet fruit.
yeah, 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 definitely. Yeah. Um Yeah, lemon water is something I definitely incorporated for a really long time. Now I'm playing around with salt water, plasma. I don't know if you know Darko Velchek. You know him? He's kind of Agenus 2.0,
Okay,
people are calling him, and he's also a very big proponent of the raw meat diet, and big on cellular hydration. So what you were just talking about with the sodium potassium
yeah,
pump, and it's really, really huge. I think most people, especially with radiation, are really dehydrated on
yeah,
a cellular level.
yeah.
So that could be something to look into. But Yeah, I would do slightly lower carb and then add it back in, like an elimination diet, I think, like, that's what GAPS is
Yeah,
too. I think is the best way to figure out what foods you should be eating. Source good quality liver, definitely a good place to start, and you don't need a lot. I think that's
yeah.
the other thing. I see people eating, like, huge amounts of liver. That's not
You don't
natural.
need
There's
it.
one liver per animal,
Yeah,
we would eat a few bites every couple days,
exactly.
so or a little bit every day, but
I quite often leave my liver in the fridge,
mhm.
marinating in
Mm,
milk kefir,
yeah.
and it goes pretty high.
Mhm.
It's proper fermented liver.
Cool.
And I'll just snip off a bit with the scissors, cut it into little blobs, and then coat a spoon with honey. So it's not a
Mm,
full honey spoon. It's just I've dipped it in and then
delicious.
taken it off and then just
Mhm.
scoop that up. And you put it in your mouth, and all you can feel is on the tip of your tongue and on your lips is the honey.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
chase it down with a little milk kefir
Yeah.
eggnog or whatever, and boom,
Mhm.
that's all you need.
I will say the fresh liver and frozen liver are completely different. If you've ever noticed, in Florida, it's really hard to get fresh liver. And
Yeah,
it's
because
actually, I
it's
think it's
hot.
illegal to sell actually in
Really?
stores. Yeah. I've never been able to find it.
Wow.
Yeah, but here I've been eating lots of fresh liver and it's sweet and it's delicious to me. But as soon as you freeze it, it becomes bitter, I've noticed. So
Interesting.
if someone can source fresh liver also, that makes a really big difference. And
Okay.
um, can, yeah, mix it with milk also. Really interesting. But
So
liver and honey,
most
delicious.
people, when you say thyroid, they think iodine.
Mhm.
Did you work with iodine at all?
I didn't. Yeah, my naturopath steered me away from it for some time. I think I I'm not a supplement person mostly because I'm lazy and I can't do so many at once. Like that's why liver was so easy for me because it was just like eating a whole food. But I know how deficient our soils are in iodine, and I think that's why I benefit from oysters so much because
Yeah,
they're so high in iodine.
exactly. And if you can't get fresh oysters, you can get Oyster Max, and
Yeah.
you can get 10% off at the checkout with GAPS 10. And the other source of iodine is just Lugol's iodine,
Mm.
which it comes in a little bottle with a dropper, which we can paint on the skin, a bit like henna,
Mhm.
which is ever
Mhm.
so easy.
Mhm.
And then you'll never OD if you're just painting a few drops on the skin
Mm.
every night. Pulse it. Do maybe 5 days on, 2 days. So do it at the weekdays and then have the weekends off to give your body a chance to sweep out the rubbish. And then once you've done that for a few months, you can start to take iodine internally, no problems.
Hmm, that's so interesting. It makes me think back to when I was milking cows a few years, 2 years ago. Actually, like right after my thyroid issue started to come down and I was eating fresh liver, I was working with iodine, to milk the
And you
cows
were
and to
getting
clean
it
the
on your
teats. And
hands.
I'm sure I was, yeah. And I was worried at the time because I was like, this is a chemical, like, I don't know.
It's not a chemical,
Yeah,
it's
it's
an earth
natural.
mineral.
Mm-hmm.
It's an earth mineral.
It's a
And well,
mineral.
actually, it's potassium iodide with it's two different kinds of iodine mixed together, which
Mm-hmm.
makes a stable compound, which is easy to administer. But it's naturally, it's not really a chemical, it's a
Hmm.
naturally occurring
Yeah.
mineral from the soils.
Yeah, I felt quite good during that
I
time at
bet
the
you
farm, so
did.
I
No,
wonder,
yeah,
yeah,
I
I
reckon it
might
was.
have to experiment with it a little bit because I've heard from a lot of people that iodine is very, very
Yeah.
important, and our soils are much more deficient than our grandparents'
Exactly.
age,
But I
and
agree with you when you say you want to find a whole food source
hmm
of these things because if your selenium is not right, then you can't do the iodine properly.
right,
And some people with Hashimoto's, they say don't go near iodine. So I would just go near oysters and beef
yeah,
liver, and then you'd be all
definitely,
right.
definitely, yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So how are you feeling now?
I'm feeling amazing, honestly, so stable, so happy to be alive, and I'm just
And
no
how
complaints.
old are you?
23,
23. And I
yeah.
mean, how many 23-year-olds out there actually are like, I've got no complaints, I'm happy to be alive, I'm feeling good.
I know, and it doesn't matter the circumstances either, it's like it I would say the biggest benefit from this diet is that I can handle stress better, and that's what we need more than anything because we have more
Absolutely.
stress than ever before from
100%.
little things. So, yeah, I definitely recommend more fat to everyone.
Man, thanks so much for sharing your story,
No
Kat. Really
problem.
appreciate that.
Thanks
So
for having
get
me.
on the fats, people.
That's
Raw
right.
beef tallow, get on the oysters,
Butter.
get on the butter, unpasteurized butter, preferably, and the beef liver.
Yes.
Holy, the holy beef liver. All right, my darlings, lots of love. Thanks, Kat.
Bye bye.